April is STD Awareness Month. It's an opportunity to raise awareness about sexually transmitted diseases and to reduce the stigma related to STDs. Joining us now to talk more about that is Jim Ginder, our health education specialist with the Hamilton County Health Department. Hey, Jim.
Hi, Tammy.
Health Department offers testing for STDs, and you said STIs, which I want you to clarify for us. But tell us what the trends have been lately. Are we seeing more? Are we seeing fewer positive tests?
Correct. Well, I oversee the STD STI clinic at the health department here in Hamilton County. So the difference between STDs and STIs are infections. So those are things that we can get rid of, such as chlamydia, gonorrhea, and syphilis. So we can treat those pretty easy with antibiotics. So that's the STIs, or the infection. The STDs are the diseases that we can't get rid of, but we can manage, such as HIV, HPV, and herpes as well too. So we can manage all those, but unfortunately we can't get rid of them. And you mentioned about the trend. So we're actually starting to see an uptake in individuals coming in to get tested for STDs and STIs. As a person who oversees a clinic, I think that's a good thing. And the reason why I think it's a good thing is that we're seeing a lot of people start new relationships, and they value their new partners, and they want to make sure that they don't have anything before that relationship moves into the next step of that relationship as well too. And that's something that we talk about when people come in, because we always do pre and post test counseling. So before we do the test, we talk about risk factors. And we talk about what they can do to lower their chance of developing STDs, HIV in the future as well. So we work out a plan to kind of maybe help them lower their risk as well too.
You talked about people who are maybe entering a new relationship and just want to make sure they've got a clean bill of health before they start that relationship. But how do you know if you need to be tested outside of that? Are there symptoms? Like, what's the indicating factor for you?
Sure, and I think that's a great question. My big answer to that is, if you engage in sexual activity and it's not with an monogamous partner, and it's not safer sex is not safe, we always say it's safer, then I think that person is a good candidate to get tested. What's interesting about STDs and STIs for women and men, it's totally different. A lot of times 75% of women don't have any symptoms, and about 50% of guys don't either. So I can have a client come in who has no signs or symptoms, then I send them over to get tested, because we work hand in hand with Riverview Health. They do my STD STI testing, and the test results come back positive or reactive. So usually for ladies, we say abdominal pain. They have a unique discharge as well too. For guys, we usually say it hurts when they pee, or when they get up in the morning, they have a funky discharge in their boxers as well too. And that's one of the true signs. Or also, I get a lot of calls from individuals whose partners have tested positive, and that they're just now telling their partner. So I think that's really important as well too, is that communication between partners as well too, to make sure that everybody's on the same page of not. We talk a lot about birth control, but we also need to talk about how do we prevent STDs and STIs as well too in those relationships.
So someone comes back with a positive test. What's the next step? I would imagine the health department offers some sort of support.
You do. So what will happen is, after that person comes back positive, so it kind of just depends on what the test results come back. If the person comes back HIV positive, we definitely have support networks. I get them in to see an infectious disease doctor as well too. If I have a person who's at higher risk for HIV, I refer them to my colleagues at Aspire, and we get them on PrEP. If you're not familiar with PrEP, that's a medication that we give people who are at high risk for HIV, and basically it lowers their risk of developing HIV, but it's just another tool in the toolbox. For gonorrhea and chlamydia, what will happen is a nurse practitioner will call in a script, and we'll also try and find out who that person had sex with, so we can get that individual in and get them tested and treated as well too. And we can refer them over for counseling as well too, if that's something they want to do. It's all about them. If they're like, no, I'm good, then I'll just touch base with them and make sure everything's good.
So the best medicine obviously would be to prevent an STD or an STI completely, but what tips do you have to offer in that regard?
And I think that's really important that you mentioned that, Tammy, because one of the things that I talk to clients about is communication. Do we make sure that we talk about sex with our partners? Because I think it's really important because I've been doing testing for about 25 years, and that's one question that I ask a lot. And a lot of my clients say, well, my partner and I have never talked about it. Well, I think that's really important that before that couple moves into that next step in their relationship, they talk about sex. They also talk about birth control. And they also talk about STDs and STIs. Has both partners been tested before? And if they have, when was the last time they were tested? And have they had sex with somebody after they got tested? And maybe they need to get tested again as well too. And of course, our condom usage as well too.
Yeah, you mentioned too that 75% of women wouldn't even have symptoms.
Correct.
So let's talk about why it's important to get tested,
Right.
even if you don't have the symptoms.
Right. So we know a lot of these STDs and STIs for both men and women can cause serious health problems. Infertility is a big one, but also like gonorrhea. If we don't get it treated, it can actually eat people's heart valves as well too. It can also cause some other damage as well too, and that's something that we want to prevent as much as possible. Is for those STDs and STIs to cause other serious health problems. So that's the reason why prevention and getting tested is so important.
All right. So if I want to sign up for a test, what's the best way to go
Is
about
give
doing
us a
that?
call at the health department, or you can go to our website as well and sign up, or I shouldn't say sign up, but send an email, and I'll call you and get you set up. So the appointments are usually about half hour, and with me, I'll do an assessment on that person, and we'll do HIV tests on them, and you'll get the results with me within about 60 seconds after I stick your finger. Then I'll send you up to my colleagues over at Riverview Health, and then nurse practitioner will do gonorrhea and chlamydia, and we'll get those results back in about 2 days. It's a very
Fantastic.
easy process.
Well, we'll provide that information in the post as well. But Jim Ginder with our health department, thank you so much for taking
Thank
the
you. Have a
time
great
to
day.
talk to us about it.